welcome to the show. Sharon Boyd, being the hype man. Do you like my funky intro music?
It's great.
Yeah?
Let's hope the listeners like it.
Oh, the listeners will love it. Listen, let's let it play a little bit. Yeah. We had enough of that?
Yeah.
Right, let's fade that back a well. Well, welcome, everyone. If you didn't know, we've got fancy equipment in the office now. We've got soundboarding, we've got mics, we've got headphones, we've got fancy lighting, we've got a camera, we've got... What's that?
A fancy Mac.
A fancy Mac. Not just any Mac, it's an iMac. And it is a green one because I wanted yellow, and naturally that wasn't in stock. So it was green. Although, as Lucas would say, my 7-year-old, then it is a Hulk computer. Now, Sharon, before we get into this, everyone, so we're going to talk about insights. We're going to talk about people profiling, so to speak. I'm not an expert in this, Sharon is, so you'd be pleased to hear that Sharon's going to do most of the talking on this one, and I'll come in with my funny anecdotes and my 2 pence on this. Now, I do have a soundboard, Sharon.
You're going to use it, aren't you?
Do you think our listeners would like to hear what some of the things we have on our soundboard?
Do you want to get it out of your system first?
I do. I think I do.
Get it out of your system so they wouldn't play in the middle.
Well, how about I play the intro that I made to the podcast?
Hit it.
Right. Are we ready? In 3, 2, 1.
Zippity-bop, welcome to the Tinpot podcast.
Now, Radio X, if you're listening, I am available for bookings.
No, you're not. You're running our company. You're not going anywhere.
Right, and what about this one?
Crickets.
We're going to hear that a lot, aren't we, during this podcast?
No, we're not at all.
What about this? Ooh, she was a green.
Spooky.
What about... Oh! Knock, knock.
No.
Knock, knock.
No. Come on.
This
do
is
the
going to
next
roll
one.
on. This is going to roll on. Knock, knock.
Oh, who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Oh, no. I know where this is going. Interrupt.
Moo!
There we go.
Oh, yeah. What else have we got? We got this. Oh, I should have played that one, shouldn't I?
No, that's the excellent
I
end
should
of
have
that
played
joke.
that one. And then we've got... Oh,
Ah.
you are welcome.
That is
You
not for the
are
joke, is it,
welcome.
listeners?
And then the last one, before we actually get into the meat of it, is this.
Hilarious.
You know, bizarrely, I hear that every time I take my top off.
Do you?
Yeah, normally people... normally the one I hear is this. Or should I say that's what happens more than not when I'm in bed with my wife. Wait! Oh no, wrong one! I blew it! I meant to press that one. Yeah, I've got a new soundboard. Anyway, the podcast isn't about soundboarding, although it is a very cool one, and I would highly recommend it. And we'll make some TikToks and stuff like that about the equipment, and the guys that installed it, Podcast Pro from Manchester. If you don't know them, look them up. They came over today and installed all this fancy equipment, which is great. We've got very flattering lighting. We're looking a little bit more tan than we usually do, and also our voices should be coming across quite sexy. Although I'm going to do something now that Sharon hates when we've got these headphones on. I'm going to see if our listeners like it. So I get really close to the microphone and I go...
Oh, stop. Chomping.
Right, Sharon, come on, get on with it. Stop wasting everybody's time here. We're 4 minutes in, you already haven't said anything. And I said that to our listeners that you're going to be the one that's going to be doing most of the talking. So what are we doing?
Today we're talking about colour profiling.
So what do you mean by colour profiling?
So colour profiling is a way to work out your communication preferences and how you like to work best. So it's a way to not put people in boxes, but to understand their ways.
What do you mean as in like... Why does that person have to do, or why does that person have to do that reporting? Why is it taking forever to do that report? Or why is that person always late? Or why does that person always like to go out as a group? Or why does that person always like to be on their own? That sort of stuff.
A bit like that. 'Cause you know how sometimes you get on with people really well and you just click, and other people there's always a little bit of tension or conflict and you're not really sure why.
Well, I always have that, so I don't know how we get. This is going to be interesting for me.
Well, so there's the well-known version of this is called Insights. There's another name for it, which is called CME, and we are CME accredited, but they're pretty much the same thing in terms of how it looks. So I'll take you through the 4 different categories, and listeners can work out whether or not they fit into a certain one. And at the end, we'll talk through kind of what it is if you don't fit into an exact kind of category. So if you are listening and not able to see this, then you can very easily look it up, to look up Insights. But I'll do you a quick intro today, and then if you are interested, you can come back to us and we'll talk through in more detail. So it splits into 4 colours. So you've got red, blue, yellow and green. And what is quite nice about it is once you understand about these and you've gone through it into a little bit of depth and given it some thought, it does enhance the relationships that you have around you. And it can really help if you've got some conflict going on, because it takes away the personal side of things and goes, oh, actually, that's just the way they tick. It's not about me. It's just the way that they are and I am and how we work together. So if I go into the different colours at high level, and then we can have a bit of a chat about what that might look like. So you've got blue. So if we start with blue, blue is all about logic, and the overriding kind of strapline that we use for blue is give me details. Now this is someone who really enjoys problem solving, who likes getting into the detail, strong sense of duty, really likes structure, all about discipline. You've got red. Be brief, be bright, be gone. This is someone who, if you're going to go and ask them for something, be prepared, have the headlines ready, that kind of thing, compared to the blue where you go with all the details. That's the difference.
I can definitely see where that's valuable, because especially some of the frustrations I know we're going to get onto what the teams were, but everybody's probably had that where if someone comes to tell you a story and they go around the houses to tell you a story and they bring in it. I mean, it's great if you've got the time for them to spin the yarn and go, oh, and then I saw Margaret, and guess what Margaret's hair's like now? And do you know that she's married Bob now? She's left Paul. And you're like going, right, what's the main, get to the crux of the point here. Is that those sort of people like that?
Exactly that. So if you think about these blue, red, green and yellow, the easiest way to think about them is if you go and approach somebody, maybe someone more senior than you or somebody that you don't know very well, and you need to get something from them. So if you think about it, that's instant value from this. So the blue one, like, go prepared with some of the details, but let them work through the details, come to the conclusion. Red, go with the headlines, but make sure you've done your prep, because they will see straight through it if you haven't. Green, in the example that you gave, you'd be thinking about the people side. So people being considerate, showing concern for colleagues, don't bring conflict. Someone who's green is really supportive, always thinking about others' values. And the strapline for that one is show me you care. So if you're approaching someone who's green, you'd ask them how they are, you'd ask them about their children, and you'd bring the people aspect to whatever it is you're discussing. With the yellow, the strapline for them is involve me. So they are more sociable, spontaneous, imaginative, the sort of person who likes a vision, a long-term vision, and likes inspiration. So if you're approaching them, you might be like, oh, great, what are you doing at the weekend? Heard you got a new car, tell me about that. But you're going to, if you want something from them, you need to involve them in the vision. So you can see that there's 4 quite different approaches there. And if you're going to approach somebody, if you have an idea of what colour they are, that helps you get because you've only really got a few minutes sometimes with somebody.
And it's fascinating, this, isn't it? Because the way that you described green then, instantly the things that were coming in my mind was quite a timid person, someone who might not necessarily like confrontation or struggles maybe to put their opinion across. So if you how would that be then if you got a green in a room with a red, they look complete opposites of the spectrum there? Would that mean that green would struggle with the red, or the red would struggle with the green?
Not necessarily. And just because you're green doesn't mean that you're timid. It just means that the first thing you think about is the people side and how much how you would get on with somebody. Whereas the first thing for a red person is more about the objectives and goals. Now, if those are aligned, you could get on like a house on fire.
So if you're saying a company's going to go through redundancies. The manager that's pulled the trigger on redundancies is red, so he or she will be thinking the strategic goal is to reduce costs, to streamline, etc., etc. And let's say someone in the green is being impacted by this, either directly or indirectly. Maybe they're a manager of a team and their team are being decimated as a result of redundancies. They'll be thinking, well, how does then this impact the team and the people as a result of that? Whereas the red will be going, look, I know it's crap, but it needs to get done, and this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah, and if they were all the same level, the red, green, blue and yellow, you'd have the red one going, well, we've got a job to do. The goal is that we need to cut heads by X amount. They'll still think people, but they are very focused on the end game and how to get there. The green one, as you say, will be thinking, right, how do I communicate this to somebody to take the impact out? It's just before Christmas. How's that going to land? What kind of wording are we going to use? How does that affect Barbara, who's just got pregnant? That kind of thing. Blue will be thinking, right, well, what's the details here? When's it going to happen? What's the date? What's the cost it's going to save? Is it worth doing it this date? If we change it to that date, what does that mean? Is there any other options? And thinking about the analytics. The yellow one wants to be involved in the decision making and understand through the comms. They don't want to be told last thing and then have to suddenly just deal with it. So they want to be involved in the discussions. So they're all slightly different approaches. They can all get to the same place, but you can see how if you had this as a board meeting, everyone brings a different dynamic, which then means that you get there, but you've thought about all the different aspects.
So how does a yellow get on them when something is sprung on them? Because you said they need to be involved. They want to have the conversation. So if I'm the red or the blue or whatever, and I'm going, right, I need to make the decision now. If it's a case of go back to that thread of redundancies, I'm not going to involve everyone per se, other than what I legally have to do from a involvement point of view. There is going to be a necessary cause of surprise for these people where they go, I haven't involved you in this conversation, this is the decision that's being made. Would they then rub against that? Would that necessarily not sit well with them?
I mean, the yellow, if it's an employee, none of these people, apart from the red, if you use the original, would be involved. So all of them would struggle with change. Yellow people actually cope quite well with change because they are spontaneous. So they probably would cope better than maybe the greens or the blues potentially. But with a yellow person, and if they're all the same level of the board, they'll be thinking about, okay, so how do we think about their exit? How do we make it nice for somebody who has to leave under redundancy? Do we get them a present? Do we do them a nice send off? Do we do a little party?
Whereas the reds are like, get out the door, right, they're gone now, can I have my bonus?
Exactly that. Yeah. So and also if you've got them on board with a yellow person and you're going, the reason we're doing this is so that we can invest in this new product and it's really exciting, but to do that we have to move this old product first, and that means removing some heads. If you can get the yellow person involved in the vision for the new exciting dream, they can be your advocate who goes out and goes, look what's going to happen, this is really exciting, yes it's going to be tough in some places, we'll go through some hurdles, but they can really kind of build the excitement. So that's why they need to be involved in that way if you're all the same level.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so let's pick a couple. So if we go into, let's do blue and red then. So when you think of a certain type of colour, we call it good day behaviours and bad day behaviours, because we all have good and bad days. So good day, someone who's blue might be precise, deliberate, cautious, questioning, the sort of person that you quite like in a lab, who's going to take their time and make sure they're checking all the experiments, doing everything safely, logging everything that comes out. Bad day behaviours, they could come across as a little bit cold, suspicious, a little bit slow sometimes to make decisions because they're working through all the data and then coming across their own conclusions. So they need time for reflection, they want realism, they like going through the details, really structured and disciplined. They're all about logic. So if you're approaching somebody, as we said before, and they are blue, give them the detail and just think, give them that time to go through it and come to their own conclusions. If they are a cool blue leader, they'll really want the consistency, some principles in place, and making sure that there's structure on board. If you compared that to a red person, good day behaviours, competitive, determined, purposeful, strong-willed, the type of person who's going to get something over the line. This is why they're often leaders. Bad day behaviours, somebody looking at them who's a different colour might see them as controlling, aggressive, overbearing and intolerant. Now those are not nice things, and sometimes red do get a bit of a bad rep. for their behaviours, but what they're doing is thinking, right, as a team, we've got to deliver this goal. How do I do this? And quite often they play bad cop. So go and if you go and approach a red person, keep it brief. A red leader will be very much focusing on the results. They like being challenged, and then they like challenging others, which can then, remember we talked about conflict of a green person, where a red person's like, oh yeah, bring the challenge. A green person's like, oh no, I'd rather just keep it comfortable. And a red person will really like to provide that direction and the drive to make something happen.
But I would imagine that reds get quite a lot of stick then.
Well, I think if they're not understood why they're doing it and that they've very clearly been given a goal that they are trying to get across the line, and sometimes it's really quite a difficult one, like the redundancies that you mentioned, that's never no one's ever going to go, great.
Yeah.
So that can be quite tough, but you give that kind of role to somebody who can handle that. You give it to someone who's green, they'll do it lovely and softly and get it done, but they're going to think, oh no, I can't do it to Barbara, she's pregnant, I can't do it to such and such. So they might not necessarily be the right person to be in that driving seat.
So how does it happen then if a green gets promoted into a position where they do have to make that decision? Because inevitably that will happen where a tough call is going to have to be made. How does that then impact someone who is in that green category? That must be quite difficult for them to do.
Yeah, so they might spend longer kind of delving into the details of people's lives and the impact on their lives. They'd still get it done. We're not saying that they can't meet that goal, but they would be spending longer thinking about maybe the personal impact than the commercial impact, for instance. And we're overgeneralising here, but they would probably spend more time asking each of their colleagues and saying, why would we do this? Do you want to fight for this person? How would we do that? So more time kind of having those discussions to make sure you're doing the right thing rather than looking down and going, right, this person hasn't performed, that person hasn't performed, get rid of those three. They'd go, okay, let's look at the reasons why. So yeah, there's the quite different approaches, but a green person's definitely going to think more about the people aspects.
Just watch your pass on your jewellery there. It's clicking in the mic.
Oh, sorry. So each of them would have different approaches to different things, just like the examples that we've just given there. But you probably won't be able to see if you're just listening, but there's an image that we're showing at the moment, which is about colour, energy, if you have a suitcase. Now, I'm a yellow. And
yours is just absolute carnage.
And it's literally a suitcase with... Well, it doesn't even look square, does it? It's like a battered suitcase.
You look like you come to work with a carrier bag.
Yeah, which I would not do, but I probably would chuck everything in. And what have I got there? Toothpaste with the lid off. I've got a sunshine.
Yo-yo?
A yo-yo?
Are you 5?
I don't know what that is. Is that a charger? I don't know. But I've got fun things in my suitcase. One flip-flop. Yeah. So earth green. The green one, they've got a first aid kit, they've got letters from their friends, they've got photos of their family. Blue one, very nicely, like all labelled up, maps, itinerary, money, everything's really nice, like 2 lots of toothbrush and toothpaste with the lids on, everything folded nicely.
In its own separate bag.
Yeah, and then red, just everything, just what you need. 1 toothbrush, 1 toothpaste, 1 top, 1 pair of trousers. 1 set of glasses and just your shoes. So just what you need, and the message on the tag just says direct. So they've just been very clear.
What does it say on the blue? It looks like there's War and Peace wrote on their tag.
It does, yes. They really want to make sure it gets to the right address.
And yellow just doesn't have a tag.
Don't even have a tag.
And green's got a flower.
Yeah. So we're all going to have a holiday. We're all going to get stuff done, and we're going to do it our way. But we've all got slightly different approaches, which is the point of Insights.
Hope that you're not putting your baggage through some sort of airport and you're carrying it yourself, because that ain't getting where it's going, is it?
What, my suitcase? No.
Well, it is, but you...
That's all right. I'd have an adventure, turn up, and have to head to the nearest
I
airport lounge.
like how you've got a pad in it saying ideas. Maybe an idea would be to put a lid on your toothpaste.
Listeners, can you tell that Mark is not yellow?
No, because one, you can't iron your T-shirt from what that looks like on that picture.
Ripping the yellow apart there. Okay, so the point of the of Insights or colour profiling is to see that there are different approaches, but also to appreciate those different approaches. So you can turn up and down your colours. So you're not just one colour. I'm not just yellow. I have a fair amount of red in me. I definitely have green in me. I've got a tinchy part of blue. Now, blue is the analytics and logic. So I know that I need someone in my team who is good at the analytics and logic because I don't naturally bring that to the table. That's not to say I can't do that. If you send me a spreadsheet, I'll absolutely do it. But it's not something that I'm going to love and enjoy. And the same with somebody who's maybe blue or red, they might need to be thinking about the people side. So they might look to see who's in their team and say, actually, we need the people side. How do we bring that in? Who's the right person to bring those ideas and areas to the table? Now, as I said, we're not all just one colour, and this is not about generalising. It's not about putting anyone in a box. I want that to be really clear. And what's quite good about this slide, for those who can see, it breaks into 4, but it says, so for me, I'm sunshine yellow. Just because I'm excited by a new product, it doesn't mean I'll lose focus. I do still want to see things through, and I will make sure I do that. Fiery red, just because I'm task focused, it doesn't mean I don't value our amazing team. And this is what I said about red sometimes having that bad reputation for being really goal focused. It then sometimes comes across that person doesn't care about the team or the wider kind of people factors, but that's not true. They're just very driven to get to the end goal. Cool blue. And that says just because I want to know all the facts, it doesn't mean I can't act quickly. As we said previously, sometimes because someone is going into the analytics and the lower level detail, that can make it seem quite slow compared to someone who's red or yellow who already knows the direction they want to go in, hasn't really maybe thought about all the facts, they just know that that's where we're going. So someone taking ages going through all the facts might drive them absolutely crazy. And this is where you get a little bit of conflict. And then the green person, just because I like harmony, doesn't mean I can't stand firm when I need to. So just because I don't really want conflict doesn't mean that I can't stand up for myself or those around me. Okay, so in our team, we've done this as a senior team. We wanted to see what the spread was. So we've got a colour wheel here with red in the top right-hand corner, blue in the left, green at the bottom, yellow on the right. So myself and John, we're in the yellow area. We've got Sasha in the green, Sarah in the blue, and Mark's in the red.
I don't know. Well, it's a nice split, isn't there? There's sort of like for those of you that can't see it, imagine a wheel, and it's in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 quadrants. You don't all. I'm assuming with this, you don't want your team all in one section. You want them nicely spread out, so you've got like a nice mix of skills that you can draw on as and when you need it.
I mean, it depends what you do. If you're all a team of just financial analysts, you'd find that your spread is likely to be much more blue. But having access to people who are yellow, green and red is definitely going to help to complement your team. But yeah, it depends on what your team does. You may see more of a cluster in certain colours. But yeah, ideally, in a multifunctional team, you'd want a spread like that.
And what does it mean when it says, for example, for me, I'm a reformer?
Yeah, so you can, as we said, you're not all one colour. You've got other aspects in there. And Mark in particular is an interesting personality because you've got quite a lot of red in you and blue. Now, do you remember at the start we said about when you approach someone who's red, you go with all the headlines and be brief. But when you go with someone who's blue, you give them all the detail and the data. Now, if you are part red and part blue, that's quite a conflict. It can be difficult for somebody going, "Ooh, what colour is Mark? I want to give something to him to kind of move forward on. What do I do?" So somebody can be part of both, and we call that a cross type. This wheel on the right hand side, for those who are viewing this, it's actually broken down into not just yellow, green, red, and blue. It's broken down into other sections as well. So the one in between, purple, goes into reformer. And that brings that says about determination, performance, and the product knowledge. So the product knowledge is the expertise side of things. But yeah, that just helps rather than just having straight yellow. You then have the orange or the kind of the greeny colours as well, just to help. So this last slide here is just to remind everybody that each of the colour energies contributes something unique, and you do have each of those parts in you which you can dial up or down depending on the situation you're in. So if you are in a leadership position where you've really got to dial up your red because that's what's demanded of you, then you might find that you're red at home, but you go red at work, and then you go home and you're much more green with your children, for instance. So you aren't always a colour constantly, and you can dial up and down your colours depending on what is needed from you in the environment that you're in. But if you can build a team which has got aspects of all of it, you'll find that you're well on your way to a high performing team. And then this last bit is some of the things that you can do with it. So you can think about your shared purpose, which is quite fitting with the red side because it's thinking about your goals and a common vision. You can think about how you build trust, which is more of a green. So there's quite a few things that you can do once you understand how you fit. And that's all of my slide pack.
Oh, so if anybody listening to this wanted to go, well, where do I go with this? Who do I reach out to? What do I do? How do they get hold of you?
Yeah, so we've got a website, mklcx.co.uk, and on there you can contact us or through any of our channels. And the quickest and easiest thing to do is to have a quick chat with us, and then we can create you a profile. And these profiles are quite interesting because it literally feels like you're being stalked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember getting mine and going, it feels like someone's actually sat with me and wrote this report, even though it's just an online questionnaire.
Yeah, and it's a very quick and easy questionnaire as well. It takes like 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it spits out this report, and you're like, okay.
Yeah. Why is someone sat there, and why do they know my inside leg measurement, all that lot?
Yeah, it does feel a bit like that, but that then gives you Sharon does this or Sharon doesn't do that. Where she struggles is this. Her strengths and development points are this, which can be particularly useful if you set an objectives or your development plan. But it also tells you what your opposite type is like and how you can work to communicate better with those types. Yeah, I find it fascinating, and you go into that level of detail. And for me personally, where I have had conflict, it's helped me go, okay, it's just because that person wants all the detail. I'm not into the detail. I haven't given them that.
No, exactly.
So I haven't given them what they need. No wonder they're a bit pissed off with me.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to step back and go, right, what do they need, not just how do I work?
Oh, so would you recommend doing it?
Oh, definitely. And I've done it a couple of times in my career and seen, as I've grown and changed roles and my team have grown and changed roles, I've kind of seen those different changes in myself, which has been really interesting to see.
Oh, and with the end music playing, we know what that means, don't you? Someone's got a soundboard, but also it's more of a professional way to end the episode. So it's a goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from me.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.